Welcome everyone. Hope that you had a great holiday. Thanks for joining us today. This is our first of two Common App clinics. This is, we're hosting this with the Design Awards Committee, COTE, in an effort to help our members with the new requirement of including and filling out the Common App for Design Awards submissions this year. So today we'll talk about our expected timeline for the Design Awards process, the framework for design excellence, just giving an intro and overview for some of you who are not as familiar with it. We'll talk a little bit about where what we were requiring last year versus the changes that you can expect this year. And then we'll do a brief overview of the Common App, covering what it is and why it's important. And then the next clinic will be hosted on February 22nd at noon. And that will be more of a detailed run through of the Common App to help you all with filling it out for Design Award submissions. The call for award entries is, we're expecting to be releasing those in early February. And then the deadline is expected to be sometime in early April. Jury deliberation will take place in mid-April, and then the Design Award celebration will be sometime in mid-May. And Ingrid or Christopher, do you all want to say anything before I dive in?
Sure, I can do that. So yes, we do have some exact dates. Submissions will open on February 1st, which is a Tuesday. And the early bird submission deadline is March 14th. And then the official submission deadline for late birds is April 7th. The jury conversations event is April 21st. And the award celebration will be May 18th.
Awesome. Thanks, Ingrid.
But we'll put those on the AIA Austin calendar so you will know what they are. Thanks, Kendall. Go ahead.
Thank you. Christopher, do you want to say anything?
No, I think that covers it in terms of schedule, but yeah, I guess I just want to say we're really looking forward to this year's Design Awards. Made a lot of progress so far, working on finalizing the jury. That'll all be announced soon. So yeah, just looking forward to it.
Great. And Christopher is the chair of the Design Awards Committee. So if you have any Design Awards related questions, you can send them to him or Ingrid. I am the past chair of the Committee on the Environment, but helping to move our Design Awards forward. So I'm going to give a quick intro to the Framework for Design Excellence. On AIA's website, there is a sustainability tab, and underneath that you can find different links to various resources, one of them being the Framework for Design Excellence if you scroll down. And you will find tiles that look something like this, and these are representing the 10 measures of design excellence. The framework represents the defining principles of good design in the 21st century, comprised of a series of 10 value statements or 10 measures, and accompanied by searching questions. It informs progress toward a zero carbon, equitable, resilient, and healthy built environment. It is intended to be accessible and relevant for every architect, every client, and every project, regardless of size, typology, or aspiration. And these are the 10 principles. So design for integration, design for equitable communities, design for ecosystems, design for water, design for economy, design for energy, design for well-being, design for resources, design for change, and design for discovery. Now, within the Framework for Design Excellence online, you will find that if you click on each of these tiles, it expands into, gives you a lot more information so that you can organize your thinking. It helps facilitate conversations with your clients and the communities we serve, and sets meaningful goals and targets for climate and community action. At the top, you'll find a series of questions that can help prompt your thought process related to the measure, and then the focus topics that the measure lays out within the best practices. There are 4 tabs. The first one is high impact, and that is just if you were to only be able to do one thing or a few things for addressing that measure. The second is best practices, and that lays out the design strategies or action principles related to that measure. There's a resources tab, which has a lot of great curated web resources related to each of them. And then the last tab is projects, which gives a series of case studies of past award-winning projects, exemplary projects. The first measure is design for integration, and this is thinking about design elevating any project, no matter how small, with a thoughtful process that delivers both beauty and function and balance. And the focus topics are creating a central design and performance concept, creating connections with place, climate, culture, and people, designing for multi-sensory experiences or beauty and delight, connecting with the other 9 principles, and then, of course, the integrated design process. And within that measure, you'll find that there are, within every measure, there are a list of a few things you can do. And a couple of the suggested ones for this measure are designing a building to lift the spirits and delight the senses, or hosting a kickoff meeting with all key stakeholders. The second measure is designing for equitable communities. Design solutions affect more than the client and current occupants, and good design positively impacts future occupants and the larger community. The focus topics within this measure include extending our reach beyond projects, social justice, equity, diversity, and inclusion, community engagement and gathering, community resilience, and mobility and access. And if you can only do a few things, a couple of them include seeking creative strategies to promote alternative transportation and identifying your community and working with them to define shared goals. The third measure is designing for ecosystems. Good design mutually benefits humans and non-human inhabitants. The focus topics included are earth forms, life forms, and impacts. Earth forms meaning evaluating the different geographic conditions on site. Life forms meaning identifying and protecting the species of the site. And impacts meaning understanding how human interaction has impacted local ecosystems. If you can only do a few things to address design for ecosystems, you can develop an indexing framework that assesses attributes of the surrounding pre-development. You can design landscaping composed of 100% native plantings, avoiding all decorative turf grass, or you could create natural nighttime habitat conditions by eliminating unnecessary artificial light and sounds while no humans are present. The fourth measure is designing for water. So good design conserves and improves the quality of water as a precious resource, especially here in Texas. The focus topics include indoor water efficiency, outdoor water use reduction, process water reuse, capture, reuse of gray water and or black water, rainwater or stormwater use and management, and net zero water building. If you can only do a few things for addressing design for water, you could be benchmarking indoor water use and comparing this number to anticipated use. You could be reducing or eliminating outdoor water use, or you could be managing stormwater runoff with the goals of increasing on-site infiltration and improving water quality downstream. The fifth measure, designing for economy. Good design adds value for owners, occupants, community, and planet, regardless of project size and budget. The focus topics included are building size, material use, operational requirements, financing and incentives, and community links. If you can do only a few things related to this measure, you could think about reusing an existing building if possible. You could be thinking about right-sizing the program early and keep the square footage as efficient as possible while managing design for change. And you could be working on editing your palette throughout the design process to keep the total number of materials to a minimum. Design for energy. This is the most comprehensive measure within the framework, and it covers the focus topics of passive design strategies, energy benchmarking and goal setting, energy modeling, commissioning, net zero energy building, and net zero carbon building. Related to this measure, good design reduces energy use and eliminates dependence on fossil fuels while improving building performance, function, and comfort. And if you can only do a few things, you can benchmark or set an EUI, energy use intensity goal. You can establish benchmarks and targets for lighting power density or LPD and window to wall ratio. You can select climate passive design strategies and or model for energy performance. The seventh measure is designing for well-being. Good design supports health and well-being for all people, considering physical, mental, and emotional effects on building occupants and their surrounding community. The focus topics included in this measure are natural and artificial lighting, thermal comfort, indoor air quality, mental and social well-being, acoustics, movement and exercise, and nourishment. And if you can only do a few things here, you could give all occupants individual control over their immediate environment, allow occupants to experience natural biophilic elements through a variety of senses, and or develop acoustical goals and plan for achieving them. The eighth measure is designing for resources. Good design depends on informed material selection, balancing priorities to achieve durable, safe, and healthy projects with an equitable, sustainable supply chain to minimize possible negative impacts to the planet. Focus topics include material sourcing, embodied carbon, healthy materials, construction, deconstruction, and demolition waste, and zero waste operations. And if you can do just a couple things, you can choose one or a few chemicals of concern to focus on reducing and or select building products that are known to be low carbon. The ninth measure is designing for change. Adaptability, resilience, and reuse are essential to good design, which seeks to enhance usability, functionality, and value over time. Focus topics included are flexibility and adaptability, risk and vulnerability assessment, resilient design, passive survivability and livability, and best practices. If you can only do a few things here, you can assess the probability and types of hazards over the service life of the building and evaluate the consequences and review those with your client and team. And you can talk to clients about their performance goals for the project during a disaster event, continuity of operations, community resources, quick recovery, or temporary relocation. Design for discovery is the 10th and last measure. Every project presents a unique opportunity to apply lessons learned from previous projects and gather information to refine the design process moving forward. Focus topics include knowledge sharing and lessons learned, occupant engagement, post-occupancy evaluations, discovery that influences behavior. If you could only do a few things, you can ask for utility bills and calculate actual measured EUI that way, especially for residential buildings. This is useful. You can call the owner and ask for feedback, and or you could share mistakes and the strategies for fixing them with everyone. So that is just a general overview. I will show just quickly, this is what it looks like online. If you scroll down, again, you see each of the different measures. If you click on one, you can see there the prompted questions, the focus topics I just reviewed with you, if you can only do a few things, suggestions, best practices. This is where you're going to find a lot of the great content related to strategies that you can implement, and a lot of great information supporting. And then under resources, you can find a bunch of different links to different types of web resources related, and then projects, these example case studies. And if you click on one of the case studies, all of them have a different amount of information, but some of them have really great graphic examples, and tips and tricks. So the point of showing that to you all is that the framework is meant to be supplementary, a resource for filling out the Common App for your design award submission. So we encourage all of you to use that as a resource as you work through them. And we also hope that it becomes a resource for your firm, integrating those design concepts from the beginning of the design process. So last year, if you all submitted for a design award, this might look familiar. This is what was required, the Design Excellence Scorecard. It is very similar to the Common App, just a little bit shortened. And so you might remember there was a guide tab and a scorecard tab. So the Common App last year was the TXA started requiring it for their design award submissions. So in an effort to align with them and also National Design Awards, we wanted to make sure that we made the process easier for you all. So now all you have to do is fill out the Common App, and you can submit that for the local Austin Awards as well as the Texas award submissions. So the Common Application. This is what it looks like. It is an Excel sheet. So we will provide a link for you all to download it so that you can fill it out. And then I believe we'll be using the same submission process as we used last year, where you will upload it online. So what is it? It is a suite of consistent project data entry fields that cover both general project information and simple performance metrics. The performance metrics are aggregated and automatically generate the spider graph at the top, a single graphic output that can provide a jury with a high-level view of project performance. So if you applied last year, you might remember it was more of a points-based scorecard. This year, you will notice that it's more so us trying to understand where your project excels within the 10 measures of design excellence. You don't have to excel at all of them. And so what types of questions are included? Questions on project performance, obviously spanning the 10 measures from the framework for design excellence. The questions are designed to be simple yet meaningful. Most are yes or no questions that focus on design strategies and process. Some questions provide an external link, which I'll show you the format of the Common App, that are relevant to the metrics. And if you have any questions as you start to fill it out, you can also, again, reference the Framework for Design Excellence resources as well. Other than energy, the 30 questions require no technical expertise to answer and require less than 20 minutes to answer. And hopefully we're saving you some time submitting this for local and statewide awards by using one form. And no single strategy, third-party certification, or process is required, and no answer is penalized. Again, these are the 10 principles. So that is how the Common App is organized. At the top, you can see this is what the spider graph looks like. You'll see each of the 10 measures represented. And as you fill out the information in the scorecard, you'll notice that it starts to populate. It's just meant to give us a snapshot of performance and allow the jury members to understand at a high level what the project is excelling in. So essentially, the inner part of the circle is lower performance, and the outer part is exemplary performance in each of those different measures. So at the very top, you'll find there are the basic requirements. That includes project information, location and size, cost, use data, and the 2030, whether or not you all are a 2030 commitment signee. We will be having, the COTE group will be having its first session on the 2030 commitment in the coming weeks. So if you're not familiar with it, you can join that call and we can assist you with signing on. The first column is for project information, so it'll include all the questions that you'll be answering. The second column is for the input data, so all of the gray cells are where you will enter text and or choose from the drop-down. The third column is units or definition, so it goes into more detail about what it's asking for. And then the far right is where you'll find those links or support resources. So each of the different measures are broken down under each of these different red rows. The first measure is just asking for 3 simple text responses. The second measure, Design for Equitable Communities, goes into a little bit more detail, asking about how the project engaged the community, how the project addressed justice and equity, transportation information, and every measure will ask for a certain amount of text related to giving an overview that is not any of the information that's not captured in the data above, you can include in the text box here. For Design for Ecosystems, this is a shorter section that includes questions about the site context, the site environment, the ecosystems that exist there, if the project addressed strategies like dark sky initiative. Design for Water includes questions about potable water reduction use, indoor and outdoor, as well as stormwater strategies. Design for Economy includes questions related to efficiency and right sizing. This will pull data from the basic requirements section at the beginning of the Common App. If you entered in the cost per square foot. And then Design for Energy is the most robust of the sections, and it breaks down by putting in baseline and the code that was used for the project, energy performance. If you have questions about how to find your EUI, you can use the link in the resources column. This does not require you to have done an energy model on your project. Just want to make that point. You can enter your predicted EUI, and that can be perfectly enough information for us. And then energy conservation process and strategies. And then again, the narrative at the bottom. For well-being, it's asking occupancy questions, what kinds of glazing strategies were included, what types of HVAC system was included. It asks about any types of natural or mechanical ventilation systems. And then Design for Resources, there are questions related to what the structural system, the main structural system is, what the whole building, if there was a life cycle analysis conducted, and what kind of program you used. And then any kind of health related strategies implemented for the material selections. For Design for Change, it is asking what the design lifespan of the project of the building is, what future flexibility design strategies were implemented, and how the design accomplishes any sort of resiliency strategies that were studied at the beginning of the design process. And then the last is Design for Discovery, asking if any post-occupancy evaluation was conducted, and what the satisfaction level of the occupants was, and if there were any improvements made during occupancy based on the feedback. So that is just a general overview. Again, on February 22nd, we will be going into more detail. So just to give a quick summary to what I just showed, Why does it matter? Well, by including project information metrics, the awards program better aligns with the values of the Institute and reinforces the framework for design excellence. The simplicity of the awards program submission process and consistency across AIA awards programs will hopefully ease the financial and time burden on firms submitting for awards and level the playing field for all firms of all resources. Using the awards program to collect consistent project metrics across all levels of the Institute will allow the AIA to build a robust database of building performance that can be used to track our collective progress towards a more sustainable, resilient, and equitable future. The data will also be leveraged for strategic research, advocacy, and practice support. So by filling this out, you all are really helping the larger AIA. The performance metrics included in the awards applications will serve as a standing reminder of the importance of incorporating high performance strategies into all design projects. The framework for design excellence online is available as a resource, again, to help firms understand and leverage these strategies in their design work from the beginning. And that is it. So now I just wanted to open it up for questions if anyone has any.
I have a question about the next clinic date. You, in the original email, it said Tuesday, the 22nd, but so I wasn't sure. There's a conflict on the date and the day.
Okay, that's good to know. We can let our marketing gal know to fix that. But it should be on
It's February 22nd, which I believe is a Tuesday. Not the 22nd of this
Oh,
month.
you're right. Yeah. I had that next week. I was like, got it. Never mind. I apologize.
Kendall, I put a question in chat.
Yeah.
It's Rich.
Hey, Rich.
My question is, can innovation measures be added, such as on-site or rooftop food production under well-being?
Absolutely. And that's what the narrative section is for. So any strategies not captured in the questions put above can be captured in that narrative section, and those will be considered by the jury.
So though in that case, how is the graphic, the summary graphic reporting those? Like if you were not able to answer any of the qualitative or quantitative questions, that would, I assume, report to the spider graph, but rather write into the narratives. How is that? Does it impact does someone pre-read this and make sure that that graph actually aligns with the narratives?
Right. The narratives contribute a tiny bit to the graph in that you have gone through the effort of filling it out, that there is text there explaining how you address that measure. But it is meant to be supportive. So the hope is that, and quite a few of these questions are qualitative. So hopefully you're able to find a balance. Again, just want to emphasize that this is being taken with a grain of salt. Like it is with the understanding that not every project is going to excel at every different level or within every different measure. It's just meant to give the jury an idea of which measures are stronger than others with the project.
Kendall, this is Ingrid. Some folks have asked me if we share this with anyone else, and we actually don't. I know you mentioned that this can help AIA get a broader understanding of where projects are going, but we don't actually share these with the state or national, and I don't think the state shares them with national. So I don't know if that's something we would do in the future, but at this time, that's not the case. In case there's like sensitive information, I just want everyone to know that we're not sharing it.
Yeah, it's more for us to be able to understand how to help our members um, um, in terms of education from our local chapter.
I mean, it could be a great thing to track if we found out a way to do that, and just, on a high level without naming names, just have that as a piece of information. I see that Karine Nicole asked a question about how and when the Design Awards jury reviews the information. So the Design Awards jury will get the information about a little over a week before they deliberate. And they get all that information for every submission at the same time. So there's no final round really that until that very day. And then they will discuss all of the submissions. Karina, does that answer your question?
Yes, thanks, Ingrid. I was just curious because it's so much information for so many submissions. So I was just curious how they process all of that.
It is a lot.
Great, by the way, Kendall, you've done an amazing job. So thank you for spearheading this.
I have a question. So I'm with Studio A, this is Deanna. We did not submit last year, so I wasn't used to this application. So what I'm used to before is kind of the description paragraph type of thing. Is that still along with this, or does this replace that, or is that somewhere in this form?
Yeah, this is a supplemental thing.
Okay.
It's everything you remember will still be there.
Okay. Perfect.
This will just take the place of any sustainability paragraph you might have been used to writing in the past, or the kind of modified scorecard that we had the last couple of years.
Yeah, and the hope is that we're capturing more than just sustainable metrics or sustainable information, Deanna. Now we're trying to capture more of a holistic view of where the projects are excelling.
Yeah, no, I think it's great because you could start, I was just thinking, yeah, you start filling it out, and then, sometimes you tend to focus on something different on the project and you realize I should be talking about something else within that, that main paragraph. So I think it helps you tell a different story.
Yeah, it's almost better to start with the narrative sections, in my opinion, before you start to go in and fill out the supplemental actual yes or no questions. Just to give you and your team some time to think through how you addressed each of the different measures. Any other questions? Ashley put a link to the framework in the chat, and I see Josh gave a link to the Zero tool, which is what we recommend for finding your predicted DUI for your projects. We know that a lot of residential projects especially aren't necessarily doing energy modeling, which is not required again. So, but if you are interested in finding out what that is, you can go to zerotool.org.
I have a slight clarification on that. Zero tool will only give you your benchmark DUI, but if you use the 2030 commitment DDX, which you have to sign on, so make sure you sign on to 2030 commitment, you can find your predicted EUI on there by just putting in code information, and you can input the PEUI in the Common App, but still say that you did not actually do energy modeling, and it will still kind of fill out that spider graph. So you still get some benefit by using the DDX to find your predicted energy use.
Mhm.
It's a quiet crowd.
We want to capture as many questions as you all have because we'll be putting together a frequently asked questions list so that it's useful for all members. So encourage you all to ask what you ask whatever right now.
Mhm.
And is this is being recorded? Is this available online, or just if we signed up, we would receive an email? Or, I mean, I took notes, but they weren't great.
We can provide this to everyone. Sure.
Hi, Kendall. Anna Grid, this is Bonnie. It may look intimidating, but I can tell you from experience that every one of us designs like this. Every one of our projects, we think of all of these items. It's just a matter of consciously thinking of them and maybe writing down a few items so that you can go back to it. But I think if you go through this, you're going to realize, hey, I do this anyhow. So yes, I can fill this out. So it's a matter of filling out, and maybe then you'll have some questions.
Yes, Charlotte, we will share a copy of the presentation.
I have a question about certain building project types, particularly interior renovations or renovations of a tenant space or a smaller space inside of a much larger building. I don't have anything specific. I haven't filled out a Common App since 12 months ago. So, but I do recall submitting several projects like that and being sort of baffled at some of the questions, what the appropriate way to fill out the application is in the absence of, really, anything relevant to say, for instance, like structural system. If you're doing an interior renovation, the structural system is for that particular project maybe irrelevant. Like mechanical systems, maybe completely out of your control as you're just maybe possibly modifying an existing system, things like that. So, I wouldn't necessarily, one of the benefits, one of the positive things in here is that, reusing an existing building. However, a lot of the questions are geared, so it sounds like you might be sort of in the graph penalized for reusing an existing building. Excuse me, I can't say anything today. So this may be a better question for the next session. It's in more detail, but I just wanted to ask if there's a general response.
Yeah, I know that has been something that the Common App authors have taken into consideration. I believe that so within this Common App, there is a renovations selection under project scope. I'm not sure if that was there last year or not when you filled it out, but I will take that question to the larger group and see if I can get a more solid answer for you for the next session.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Because we don't want to penalize you using an existing building. And I think too, if there's anything that you're noticing is not being captured correctly, please let us know, because we can try to fix it before, in a timely manner before submissions are due. Okay. Well, if there are no other questions, thanks for joining us, everyone, and taking some time out of your day. This will be recorded and put on to the website, so we will send out a link to where that's located. And please keep an eye out for registering for the second Common App Clinic.
Thank you, Kendall. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Thanks all.
Thank you.